Hi everyone. I hope this is working. Okay, cool. So this is working. I'm just gonna give some people some time to trickle in. So I'll start here in about 5 minutes. So just come on in, make yourself comfortable. Go grab a cup of tea right now, hot tea, something to drink, maybe a notebook. Just get yourself really situated and comfortable and ready to spend the next hour and a half with me. I'm looking forward to having you, so I'll be back in about 4 minutes. We'll begin. All right, I'm here. I hope you're here too. Shall we get this party started? Yeah? Okay. So I want to thank you all for being here with me, sharing your time with me, and allowing me into your space. If you have questions for me, I will do a live Q&A at the end of this call. Leave your questions in the comment section below. Just scroll down and you'll see a Facebook comment list, and just leave your questions right there for me. And I will reply to you live on this call. Before we begin, let's just close our eyes and just take a deep breath in and let everything you're holding on to go. And just become fully present, fully aware with yourself. And just tell yourself that whatever's on your mind, whatever happened today, just leave it at the door. You're giving yourself this hour and a half time period just to be fully present and available, and to tap into your innate inner wisdom, to remind yourself of your true highest self. And as you do that, just totally, completely incubate yourself in this beautiful green light, which is coming from your heart and totally just cradling you. Your whole entire body's wrapped in it. And just send deep, deep love to yourself. Just be available for yourself. And take a breath in. And let everything go. That felt good. All right, so if you're here, you're obviously here to learn about self-love as empowerment. That is what I've titled this webinar, and that is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. And the reason I'm going to be talking to you about this today is because in the past year or so, I very much have understood that loving myself has been literally the greatest gift I have ever given to myself. It saved my life. It allowed me to become the person that I am today. It has allowed me to know myself as God knows me. It allows me to know myself as a deeply loved child of God. And everyone deserves to love themselves. And the world will be saved by people who love themselves. And today I'm going to share exactly why that, and how loving myself transformed my life. You can either do two things with your life. You can use all your power to deny and hate yourself, or you can use all your power to deeply, deeply love yourself. The choice is yours. And we make this choice every single day. We wake up and realize, or we choose, if we're going to love ourselves today, if we're going to beat up on ourselves today, if we're going to hate ourselves today. The choice is yours. And depending on which choice you make is the experience of life that you live. And if you want to know exactly, you really want to know how powerful you just really are, go dissolve a cloud. Go dissolve a cloud. Yes, you can dissolve a cloud. Go outside on a clear sunny day where there's those big white puffy clouds in the sky. Place your focus on a cloud and keep your focus there, and affirm to yourself that I will dissolve this cloud. I'm going to dissolve this cloud. And you will notice within 5 minutes, that cloud will dissolve right in front of your eyes. And that, when you have done that for yourself, you'll begin to realize how incredibly powerful you are. Okay, so now if you have the power to dissolve a cloud, imagine what you have the power to do when you focus, when you harness, when you charge something with your power, when you charge it with love, because love is who you are. Love is the only energy in the world that is real. Everything else is a cry for help. So, what does self-love actually? What does self-love exactly mean? And I wrote it down in my notes for this call today, so I'm going to read it off my notes. Self-love is your ability to love yourself unconditionally. Love yourself like a deeply loved child of God. And the better your relationship is with yourself, the easier it is to love yourself. Okay? And how do we come to this place where we have a better relationship with ourselves? It begins by loving yourself. So it's the two sides of the same coin. Having a better relationship with yourself begins with loving yourself, and loving yourself creates a better relationship with yourself. So the coin is the same. So where do we begin? And I'm going to start sharing my own journey, my own history, per se, that got me to where I am today. Where I am today is I am in a healthy, happy, positive relationship with myself. And you can tell because you can just read my energy right now. You can just totally read my energy. And you can know that this is someone who actually deeply loves and deeply cares for themselves. You can easily tell who loves themselves and who doesn't. You can just look at it by just reading their energy. And today I am in a place where I know that I am the empowered creator of my life. I know that if I want to do anything with my life, if I want to create any kind of change in my life, it all has to begin with me. It all begins here. And it began the day I chose to do the inner work. You can't want a better life. You can't want a more fulfilling life. You can't want a better job. You can't want that perfect mate. You can't want that perfect job if you don't do the work. You gotta do the work. And the work I'm talking about is the internal work. Because everything in your life is a reflection of your internal condition. And the relationship you have with yourself determines the relationship you have with everything in your life, down to money, down to your parents, down to your job, down to your best friend, down to your cat. Everything in your life is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. If something is lacking in your life, it's because you're not giving something to yourself. And that's the realization that I've come to. But I'm going to tell you where I was. There's a feather. Wow, a random feather. And feathers are actually signs for me that angels are present and that I'm being supported. So I'm going to take this as a token of my spirit guides telling me they've got my back. Take a quick sip of tea. So I'm going to start telling you what kind of relationship I had with myself. Let's go back to when I was about 3, 4, 5, a child. I wasn't brought up knowing what love looked like, what love felt like. My parents were very young when they had me, and they did the best they could to basically bring me up and provide for me and make sure that I was taken care of. But I never knew what love was. I only knew love in a very romantic sense. You know, your husband loves your wife, or your grandparents love you. That's what I thought love was. I didn't know love as this energy that it is, that exists in the world. And I always just felt very alone, very uncomfortable. I felt very shy. And I will tell you what loving yourself does to you, because the fact that I'm sitting here having this live stream call right now says a lot, because at one point in my time, I couldn't even look at someone in the eye and speak to them. I was severely afraid of people. I had social phobia. And that all started because I wasn't brought up in a good way. Okay, the people that brought me up weren't my parents, because my parents were had to take care of other things. They didn't relate to me in a good way. All I got from them was hate, and that's how I learned to relate to myself. The way people relate to you is the way you will relate to yourself, and the way you relate to yourself is the way you'll relate to people. It all bounces off each other. And so when you are brought up relating to yourself in a very hateful, neglectful way, like I was, going through all kinds of abuse, especially emotional and mental abuse, you start relating to yourself like that. Your dialogue of yourself becomes that. And I always knew myself as that. I didn't know myself anything but beyond that. I always saw myself as unintelligent, incapable, unworthy, undeserving, stupid, flawed, broken, dumb, everything, useless. I shouldn't have been alive. I'm a waste of space. I should die, everything. And that was constantly reiterated to me every day by the adults in my life. So when the adults in your life, or your environment, let's just say your environment, your conditioning, the people in your life are constantly telling you how worthless you are, the piece of shit that you are, how you're never going to amount to anything, it's not supportive, it's not loving, it's not nurturing, that's what your internal condition begins to be like. Because as kids, we are hyper-focused. We have such an insane amount of ability to absorb information and knowledge. And whatever those early years in our life, whatever happens there becomes that reality, becomes a story that kind of becomes that subconscious belief, that subconscious programming that basically live the rest of our lives, until we decide to become empowered and choose that I don't feel good and I have the power to change how I feel. So that's where I was. And this eventually led me to depression. It led me to suicide. It led me to anxiety, social phobia. Teenage years were not good years in my life for me. Not until did I turn actually about 22 did I actually start loving my life. Before that, I actually hated my life. I had no friends. I was a complete loser. I never went to any school dances. I didn't do anything with my life. I hid out in my room. I was vengeful. I hated the world. I hated people. I didn't want to be part of the world. I thought people were stupid. I thought people were dumb. And it gave me so much more satisfaction to hate on myself and then hate on other people, because they were the cause of my misery. And if that person just didn't exist, I'd be happier. That's what I thought to myself. And I will tell you, there's two types of hate in the world. There's hate that's projected outward towards other people, other things, and there's hate projected inwards towards us. And what's hate projected inwards, that's what leads to depression. That's what leads to suicide. That's what takes someone, that's what basically allows someone to kill themselves. And then the hate projected outside is hate of themselves that someone is putting out there because they think their circumstances, this person is in charge, is the reason why they're suffering. And I must basically put that person in its place. And that's what you call homicide. You call bullying. You call mass murder. You call terrorism. So that's why self-love will save the world. Because if people love themselves, we could never hurt another. Because we can't hurt ourselves. What we do to ourselves, we have the ability to do to others. And what we give to ourselves is the only thing we can give to others. And that's where I was. I was in this crazy freaking mind trip of hating myself constantly and trying to end my life. I tried to kill myself 3 times. And the 3rd time, it didn't work. And I was like, okay, it's not working. And I felt like I was a coward. I couldn't kill myself because it was going to be too painful. I didn't want to have to go through the pain of dying, you know. I wanted it to be quick. And I didn't have the resources around me to make it quick. And I wasn't brave. I feel people who kill themselves are brave in a way because they've reached beyond this level of knowingness of who they are, that they can take their own life. And that's where I was, okay? I was in a complete shitstorm. Like nothing worked out for me. Like I didn't have good grades. I didn't do good in school. I had nothing going for me. I was completely at, like, I didn't think I'd amount to anything with my life, and I didn't think I'd still be alive. And what clicked for me was that realization that, first of all, my intuition, I really believed, kicked in for me. I kept hearing this message over and over again in my head that said, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it would drive me absolutely insane. So then what I decided when basically killing myself wasn't an option anymore, because I didn't feel like I was brave enough to go through with it, I had to listen to that voice. And I listened to that voice. And I chose, basically, in that moment, I didn't even know that I chose to do this in that moment, but I chose, this was probably when I was, so I want to say 21. I chose in that moment that I have spent my whole entire life hating on myself. And I've never felt good. I've never actually known what it's like to feel good. And I feel like a victim of my environment. I feel like people are out to get me. I don't feel safe in this world. I need to turn this around, because I knew that thoroughly, very well. But I was like, okay, well, everyone talks about this thing called love, like self-love. What the heck is self-love? Like, that's just like, oh, I painted my nails red today. That's loving myself. Or I watched Netflix and had pasta. That's not loving yourself. Loving yourself is this internal validation. It comes from within. It's this inner knowing that no matter what happens outside of you, no matter what anyone says, you have a choice of how you're going to feel about yourself. That's what self-love is. I made a decision that I was going to start loving myself. I didn't know how. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I just made a decision. Let me look at my notes real quick. Ooh, that's a good question. What causes us to hate who we are? What causes us, wow, what causes us to hate who we are, become our insecurities, and look for approval, right? I mentioned that earlier. What causes us to get to that place is that we're constantly looking for other people's opinions of us to basically be aligned or prove to us that we're worthy, we're enough, we're capable, we're deserving, we're loved, we're lovable, we're beautiful, we're amazing, all these amazing things. What happens is our insecurities are not our insecurities. Our insecurities are basically things that we have taken on from other people and made ours. The thing that you're insecure about is reflecting to you where the work needs to be done. So if you have an insecurity about never being good enough, don't blame someone else for triggering that insecurity, but be like, thank you. Thank you for being the mirror that is helping me know that this is an insecurity I need to work on. And then the inner work comes in. Then you do the internal work. Not until do we take that commitment, make that initiative to do the internal work, will anything in our life change, right? So how did I get to where I am today? I'll give you face. 4 words: forgiveness, acceptance, commitment, and empowerment. Okay? When I say forgiveness, forgiveness is releasing yourself from the burden of hating yourself. So you sit down and you say, okay, I've hated myself for so long. I am so ready to feel better. I'm so ready to have a better relationship with myself. I am so ready to see what I'm capable of, what my potential is, who am I here to be, what am I here to do? And you start forgiving yourself for not being the person you needed. And I always like to remind myself of this. If any single time you see yourself just become this person who is not, you're not happy with, you're not proud of, you don't want to be around, ask yourself, who would the 3-year-old need for me to be today? The younger version of me, what would she want me to be like? Who would she want me to be? How would she want me to behave? How would she want me to treat her? That 3-year-old you, that 5-year-old you, that young version of you still lives inside of you. And she is still there. So every single time you tell yourself, you suck, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're not capable enough, you're not unlovable, you're telling your 3-year-old self that. Now you hold a picture of your 3-year-old self right here and tell that to that 3-year-old you. You will not be able to do it. All you'll see is this pure, loved, innocent child of God. But that 3-year-old you is still alive inside of you. Every single time you say anything negative, disempowering, unsupportive, and unloving to yourself, you are basically hurting that 3-year-old you. And that's where a lot of our trauma, that's where a lot of our beliefs have stemmed from, is that inner wounded child, which we actually need to nurture, we actually need to love instead of condemn and basically put to the side. So that's where forgiveness comes in. Forgiveness isn't about blaming yourself. Be like, oh, I have to first put blame on myself and then that's why I can forgive myself. No, it's understanding that forgiveness is basically allowing you to free yourself from the energy, the burden of hating yourself. So you write a letter to yourself where you say, Dear Kajal, I forgive you for all those years where you basically told me I was a piece of shit, I couldn't do anything, I would never amount to anything, I would never be able to do anything with my life. I write everything down. And then what I do with that letter is I burn it. When we take something physical, we turn it back into non-physical, we give it back to spirit, we give it back to God. We say, God, take this over, heal this. And that's what happens. Second, acceptance. The first step to creating any kind of change in our life is acceptance. When we can't accept, we can't create change. What happens is most of us, we know something's not working. Let's say, for example, we hate the job we're at, okay? We hate the job we're at. I was there. We hate the job we're at. We just, it literally kills us to go to this job every day, but we go because we need the money, right? We need the money. That's what we tell ourselves. Again, a limiting belief. And you are trying to basically be like, oh, I want to create a new job, but you can't create a new job for yourself by hating your way through the job you have right now. And I'll tell you a story. For me, I got a job on Michigan Avenue in Chicago after college because that's the one everyone does. You get a degree, you get a job, you be a big girl, you get an apartment, and you pay your own way through life now. You're an adult, you gotta be responsible. And I remember getting a job, and I was like, oh, I'm getting paid like a salary. This is so cool. I was miserable every day. Every single day I would come home and I would just cry. And I thought this was the end of my life because I thought this was supposed to feel good. This was supposed to make me happy. And here I was miserable. I felt like I had no meaning, no purpose in my life. Like this couldn't be it. And I just wanted to work for myself. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to never have to have a boss. But here I was working for someone else, going in from like, I think 8 to 6 p.m. every day and having just Saturday and Sundays to live my life. And what I did on Saturdays and Sundays was I numbed myself. Like, you know, you go out, you get a drink, you stay up till 4 in the morning because, you know, it's Friday, it's Saturday, you got to party, you got to celebrate. But then you come Monday and you're like, you revert back to hating your life. And I'm just like, I can't live like this anymore. This is only affecting my relationship with myself because constantly putting myself through that cycle of going to a job I hated, it basically created that internal dialogue that you're worthless, you're stupid, you're a piece of shit. Look at you. This is all you can create for yourself. You can't create anything else for yourself. And it just kept me stuck. And what happened was that I was let go of that job. I was let go of that job. And I was like, this is horrible. How could someone just like let go of me? I didn't let go because I was fired. It's because the job was no longer available. I was like, how dare they do that? But here I was. I hated that job, right? But I was upset that someone let me go from that job. And when I realized, I didn't realize at the time, but that was the biggest blessing ever. Because what happened was that when we go through so many shit hits the fan, we fall, and we hit rock bottom, the only place to go up is the top. But what you have to do is you have to use that catalyst, that job loss, or your relationship ending, or something that's happened to you, to allow you to empower yourself, not to sink deeper into your misery, not to punish yourself even more. When you do that, you have basically accepted yourself with all your shit, with all your flaws, what's not working, what's not right, and you're telling the universe, I am ready for something better. I want more out of my life. I want more out of my experiences. And because of that job loss, I got the seed in my head that said, I will never work for anyone else ever again. I will be my own boss. I will live a life on my terms. I will do what makes me happy. And I started looking at everything in my life that needed to change. But the one thing that needed to change was my relationship with myself, because it wasn't in a good place. And I had to accept the relationship I did have with myself, which was very unsupportive, unloving, disempowering, and unhealthy. And I always tell myself this: only loving thoughts are real. And you know that only loving thoughts are real because only loving thoughts feel good. The last time you had a negative thought or a hurtful thought or a disempowering thought, tell me if it felt good. You know, the thought, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't have what I want. I'm not lovable. Does that feel good? Right? It doesn't feel good. Then why do you continue to choose to think those thoughts? A thought that you think over and over again becomes your belief. What becomes your belief becomes a programming of the life you live. And that's why you do the inner work. You do the inner work because you realize that I can't put this paper over here and this mug over here and move to California and, you know, dump this person and expect everything to be perfect again. No, you can leave the place, you can leave the situation, but your problems go with you because your problems are here. There's no problems going on out here. It's the problems in you because you're reflecting that problem out. You're not owning that you need to create change. You're not being the best version of yourself. You're not empowering yourself to live like you actually want. You're hiding out. You're choosing to sabotage yourself. And this only continues as long as you let it, right? This will only perpetuate and go on as long as we let it go on. So I talked about forgiveness, I talked about acceptance. Okay? Third thing, commitment. We are so afraid of commitment. So afraid of commitment. Nothing can change until you fully commit. You commit to yourself, you commit, you make an empowered choice of basically telling yourself that no more. I will not live my life like this anymore. I will empower myself. I will choose to have a better relationship with myself. I will choose to become the presence of love in my life. I will not wait for other people to love me in order for me to love myself. What you can't give to yourself, why do you expect someone should give it to you? Why? Why should they give it to you? What you can't give to yourself, why should someone else give that to you? No, they're not responsible for giving you anything. Only you are responsible for giving yourself something. If you want a better life, you want a better relationship with yourself, you want more love in your life, you want more fulfillment, you want more happiness, you're responsible for giving that to yourself. And no one is coming out to save you. Okay, no one is going to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to pull yourself out of whatever misery, whatever mess, whatever place you've taken yourself into. I want to ask you another question. How do you love yourself? The way you love yourself, does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel happy? If not, then change it. Only you have the power to change it. Remember I talked about dissolving that cloud? Want to know how powerful you are? Go dissolve that cloud. If you have the ability within you to dissolve a cloud, imagine what else you could do with your life if you really just hyper focus your attention and summoned all your energy to the thing that you really truly want in your life. That's where it begins. It begins with this total commitment to do the internal work. It's like we want to have a better relationship with our partner, but we refuse to have a better relationship with ourselves. Oh, my partner must fill the void that I feel in myself. He must make me whole and complete. No, you are a whole person. It is no one else's job to make you a whole person. It is your job to embody your wholeness, to embrace your wholeness. And that person you attract into your life, that partner you have, should complement you. Is not there to fill you. You want to have a better relationship with God? You want to be spiritually connected? You want to strengthen your spirituality? You got to sit down and create the time to sit in meditation. You got to do the work. You can't just ask for something and not expect to show up and do the work. I mean, we all have jobs, like all of us work, right? The job you had to do something to get that job, right? You have to do the work. So if you want your life to change, you have to do the work that requires your life to change. And this is not about external change, this is about internal change. This is about reflecting back to yourself every single day the person you want to become, the person you want to be there for yourself. Okay? And the last beautiful word, the equation, is empowerment. We have to learn how to empower ourselves. If no one is rooting for you, if no one is supporting you, if no one's got your back, you have to be that for yourself. Okay, for me, I had no one. I didn't have many friends. I felt alone most of my life. It wasn't until I got to college that I really developed relationships with people, because I was afraid of people. Okay, when you have social phobia, you do not go out in public, you do not communicate with people, you do not want to be friends with anyone because you're terrified of people, you're terrified of social environments. And that's where I was. And where was I going with this? And so what happened then is that you seclude yourself when you're afraid. And that's not empowering yourself. That's keeping yourself sabotaging behaviors alive. That's keeping yourself stuck. That's keeping yourself feeling like a victim of your life. We're so good at feeling like victims of your life. Oh, poor me. Why me? Why did this happen to me? It's not fair. It sucks that this person is doing this. It sucks that, my boyfriend is treating me like this. It sucks that I can't get this job. It sucks that my parents are like this. Why me? Why me? Does that help you? It does not help you. Playing a victim of your life will never allow you to live out the life you want, to experience the life you want. You have to empower yourself, okay? No one's going to do it for you. Back to the thing I said, no one's coming to save you. You got to save yourself. Empower yourself. Empower yourself to make the decision to take charge of your life, and to tell yourself that when I deeply commit to radically accepting myself, to practicing forgiveness on a daily basis, and I realize the power in loving myself, because when I love myself, my energy completely changes. The way I relate to myself completely changes. The way I relate to other people completely changes. When I do that for myself, what I've done is I've become the empowered creator, that deeply loved child of God. A question I like to ask myself often is, what does God think of me? It's a baffling question, because God doesn't think of you the way you think of yourself. So when you're having this brain trip, this ego trip, and you're just flying in your ego, ask yourself this question: what does God think of me right now? And what the answer will come forth for you intuitively will be that I'm just loved. I'm loved because I exist, man. And it's my birthright to be here, to enjoy my life, to have a fulfilling experience, and to be that expression, that extension of love. First and foremost for myself. And when I can do it for myself, I will just automatically, naturally be able to do it for ourselves. I also want to add something here. I didn't mention this earlier. When I was in my wallowing, misery, shitty, divine storm, I like to call, I always attracted really rude, negative, nasty, unsupportive, unloving people. Like all the freaking time, like rude cash register cashiers, or like the rude customer service, or I would break this, I would break that. Like things just weren't happening right. And I realized that because it was all just a reflection of my internal condition, what I was doing to myself on a constant basis. And now, like, I will tell you this, and I'm not lying, and I'm not kidding, and I'm not fooling you. I encounter no negative people. I encounter no unsupportive people. Every single time I'm with a customer service representative, I always have the most amazing experience ever. I have the most amazing experience out and about in my life, at the coffee shop, or at the grocery store, all the time. And do you know why? Because that's the kind of experience I have with myself all the time. This empowering, loving, beautiful, kind, compassionate relationship with myself. It's about accepting myself through the process of whatever I'm going through. It's about being compassionate to myself through the process that I'm going through. It's about being my best friend. I really hope you're getting some really good information out of this. And use the comment section to ask me comments, which I will get to here shortly. And yeah, I cannot tell you how much I really value this topic of self-love, because I firmly believe it's the one thing that will change the world. It will change the state of the world. It will bring great healing to this planet. When people love themselves, people who love themselves will help save the world. And it begins by doing the internal work. It begins by making a commitment to love yourself regardless of what. And how you get there is you decide. The thing is that this stuff is so easy that we make it so hard, because it's not at all normal to what we've been taught, normal to what we've been told. I mean, happy people freak us out. This is the type of culture we live in. Oh, that person's happy. That's weird. They're not complaining about their problems and they're not moping in their misery. That's weird. What we do to each other is when we talk to each other, our dialogue is outdoing each other to see which one's more miserable. That's what we do. But you just affirming how miserable your life is and how miserable everything about you is isn't going to make it better. It's going to keep you stuck in that misery, keep you stuck in that place that you don't want to be in. And then you're wondering why things aren't changing, why you aren't attracting that perfect mate, or why your life isn't moving forward, or why this isn't working out for you, or why you're not money abundance. Everything in your life is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. Right? And I want to take the time to tell you something. When you change the relationship you have with yourself, everything in your life changes. What changed for me? I now live in a place that I love. I live in a house that I love. I have a partner that unconditionally loves me. Yes, that is real and that exists. I have a job that I absolutely love. I love that my job is to help people change their lives. Why? Because I have changed mine. I have the best relationship with my parents because I did the work. I did the internal work. And I continue to do the internal work. This work doesn't stop. Your commitment to yourself will never stop. Your commitment to live out your highest expression of who you are, live out your utmost, greatest, grandest vision of who you are, never stops. Just because everything in my life seems to be dandy and happy now doesn't mean the internal work stops. I still have down days. 2 days ago, I just wanted to shut my business down. But the thing is, now I have tools. I have awareness around where I'm not giving to myself. What am I doing that is creating this experience for me? And I step back and I look at it and I see, oh, well, this is going on and this is going on. It's reflecting that outside of me, and I have the power to change all that. I have the power to transcend this into something that's going to empower me. It's going to uplift me. It's going to help me to grow and expand me. The point of life is growth. It's to expand into the greatest version of ourselves, to expand to the version that God knows us to be. But all this didn't happen overnight. The word commitment, I started investing in myself. I took classes, I read books, I took courses. I worked with people. I did whatever I needed to do to get me out of this rut, this perpetual state of suffering that I was in. And that's what I do for people. I help people transcend their suffering through self-love to create a life they love. Because I did it for myself. I did it for myself. I want to share with you a program that I have created called Self-Love Simplified. It's a group coaching program for only 10 people, 10 committed people who are so ready to let go of their old shitty story, to create a new empowered story, and live a life from the inside out, knowing their truest, most highest expression of themselves, to bring about healing, to bring about radical change, but most of all, to change their relationship with themselves, to make that commitment to put themselves as a number one priority in their life. This is a 4-week group coaching program that begins on May 4th, so it's next Wednesday, and it will go the entire month of May. We're meeting every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And this is going to be a program where I lay down everything, the tools, the practices, the exercises, what I exactly did to the T to get to where I am today, and what I still do on a daily basis to keep the fuel burning, to keep the fire alive. You will also receive one bonus extra call at the end of the course to basically bring it all together, to tie it all together with you, to tie it all together and to have ask me any questions. We will meet for an hour every single day. We will meet for an hour every week for 4 weeks. You get access to the Facebook group page, which is a private page for you to ask unlimited questions. You have access to ask me unlimited questions. You have access to share your insights, to share your wisdom, to share whatever is going for you. It's a supportive environment. I feel we work best in intimate, supportive environments. Where we don't feel supported, we don't feel safe, it's harder to show up, it's harder to commit, it's harder to do the work, right? So I've created a safe, sacred, intimate environment because it's all about compassion. That's all my work is meeting you where you are, what you need, and how I can serve you and help you the most. You'll receive a guided meditation. You'll receive 30 prompts for 30 days of a love letter project. Let me see what else you'll receive. And you'll receive my unconditional support to help you through this process. So this is for those people who are ready to commit to harnessing the power of self-love to shift their story from the inside out, which begins on May 4th, this next Wednesday, for a whole entire month, with a bonus call on June 1st. And these are all hour-long calls. These are coaching calls. So that speaks to you. I have a link to that right below this video. It says join the group coaching program. Go there, read all the details, and you can enroll right away, and we'll get started. It's going to be a beautiful, sacred, healing experience, and I'm going to help you through it. You know why I do this work is because I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone who understood me. I didn't have anyone who I could go to. I didn't have anyone to help me through anything. I did it all on my own. And when I found out that there were other coaches out there and courses I could take and programs I could do, I was like, oh my God, there's people that can support me now. And it changed my life. It changed my life because it allowed me to know that someone got what I was going through. Someone could help me through what I was going through. That I didn't have to do this alone. That someone cared. Someone was there for me. And that's the kind of space I provide, is to fully, compassionately listen and be there for you, because I know what it feels like to have no one there, to have no support in your life. I was there, and this is the reason I do this work, is to be that support system, is to be that presence of love for that person, to be their cheerleader, to be their guide, to be their companion through this transformative process that will change their life, that will change your life. In the process, healing will occur not only for me, but for you. If you're ready to commit to changing your relationship, then you need to sign up for this course. It's a 4-week course on self-love simplified. And if you click the little link right below, right here, it says join the coaching program. You click that link, it will take you right there with all the details. And I also want to add, this is only $260 because I wanted to make this accessible for anyone and everyone. Because I know what it feels like when you're ready to take a course and then the price is too high and you can't invest in yourself. But when you take the initiative to invest in yourself, you're choosing to show up for yourself. And when you choose to show up for yourself, you're asking and you're telling the universe that I'm ready for a bigger, expansive experience of myself. And what you invest in something, that money comes back to you in tenfolds, in ways that you couldn't even imagine. That has been my experience every single time. So I invite you to commit. I invite you to take the initiative. I invite you to empower yourself. I empower you. And I ask you to let love write your story. I let love write my story, and it transformed my life. And I'm still transforming my life. I'm still creating things in my life. I'm still working on myself. It never stops, but it's that commitment I've made to myself. I told myself I want to have a happy, fulfilling life. It begins with me. It begins by giving that gift to myself. And I hope that you will give that gift to yourself too. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some questions. Let's see. Okay. So, what is the one thing you do every day to continue to cultivate self-love? For me, that is my meditation practice. I sit down 20 to 30 minutes every single day in my meditation. That is a time for me to be with myself. It's a time for me to connect with the divine. It's a time for me to connect with God. The time for me to heal anything that's coming up, anything that's going on. It's a time for me to fully just become present, aware of where I am. And I do this every single day because it anchors me, it grounds me, but most of all, it reminds me that I'm a deeply loved child of God. I matter, I am worthy, and I have value. And I do this every single day. I don't miss a day because it's too important to me. Because having that spiritual connection with myself and with God is way too important to me. So being lazy or saying I don't feel like it is not good enough. It's not good enough for me because I want to be good enough for myself. And I know I'm good enough for myself when I have this deep, amazing, loving relationship with myself. And that is cultivated in my meditation practice. I'm actually coming out with a meditation course next month. So if you're someone who's looking to build a meditation practice, you want to dive deeper into building a practice that you can stick to and show up to every single day, stay tuned for that course. You subscribe to my newsletter, you'll receive updates there because that's where I share all my updates. All right, let's see the next question. Let me just refresh my screen again. I hope everyone's having a good time. I hope you got a lot out of this. Oh, I like this question. How do you make sense of all the violence, hatred, and sadness in our communities and societies? Okay. For me, I don't try to make people wrong. I don't try to say that this person, what they did is wrong for doing that, or they're a terrible human, or they shouldn't have done that. Anything that isn't love is just a cry for help. So for example, like let's say you say it's terrorism or homicides or bullying in school or the hatred that we experience in majority of the world today. But what happens is that is coming from a person who has lost their connection to who they are. At first and foremost, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are divine. When we lose that connection, when we go too much into our ego, and this ego is this thing that creates separation. The ego creates separation. And I love to use this analogy. When you look out into the ocean, what do you see? You see an ocean, but the ocean also has tons of ripples and tons of waves in it, right? You may know it as a wave and you can know it as the ocean, but it's all part of the whole thing, okay? The wave is still part of the ocean. It can never not be part of it. That is what our relationship with God is like. That's what our relationship with the universe, the divine, higher power, whatever you relate to it as. We can never be apart. We can never be separate. But what the ego does, ego is a false conditioned self, the self that we've learned that we are. We are this body, we are this person, we are this experience of ourselves, okay? This physical experience of ourselves. When we define ourselves as that, totally that, we're step into our ego. And the more we live in our ego, the more we create separation between God, and we create separation between other people. We say, oh, that person is a bad person. That person is a homosexual person. I can't relate with them. We create all these stories in our head why they're bad and why they should be punished and why I hate them. But what that's actually doing is reflecting the reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. We could never hate another if we didn't hate ourselves. We could never hurt another if we couldn't hurt ourselves. So all these atrocities or hatred that you see in the world is basically poor souls who are lost. They don't need to be condemned. They don't need to be punished. They just need help. They need to be reminded that they are still, no matter what you do with your life, no matter how many people you kill, No matter how many people you save, you're still going to heaven. Yeah, you're still going to go back to the arms of God. Because God doesn't judge, God doesn't condemn, God doesn't criticize, God isn't trying to justify who's right, who's wrong. It's all in our head. The one fact about you that can never change is that you'll always be loved and that God can never betray you, because how can something that is part of the whole ever be separate? Never. So it's just people who are lost. What they need is our compassion. What they need is to basically be helped, not punished, not to be condemned, not to be put in jail, not to be put in, punished for their atrocities. They need to be educated. There needs to be awareness. There needs to be this ability to basically come from this place of compassion, loving kindness to help them. And when we punish people for what they've done, what happens is that person becomes more aggressive, or that person becomes even more vengeful, revengeful, or hurtful. But the thing is, if you can help someone to help themselves, then these things will stop. I firmly believe that, and it begins by our relationship we have with ourselves. So imagine if all of us took a class on self-love when we were in pre-K and first grade. We learned how to relate to ourselves in a way that was loving, kind, compassionate. Then we wouldn't grow up to be adults who are hateful. We wouldn't grow up to be adults who are suffering and like to impose stuff on other people. We wouldn't, because we wouldn't know that experience of ourselves. So it begins by understanding that the relationship I have with myself creates a relationship that I have with others and everything else in my life. I hope that answers your question. It's kind of a deeper question. I have to think more about that. Okay, let me refresh my screen. What is the practice I do every day to cultivate total love and acceptance of your body and attributes of your personality which your ego dislikes? I already mentioned this before. What I do every single day to cultivate self-love is meditation. But acceptance of my body and my attributes of my personality. Okay. Your personality is the physicality of who you are. Okay. Your personality means that you are 5'7", you have black hair, you have brown eyes, you're 27 years old, you were born in February. That's part of my personality. It's part of my physicality. It's part of, I have long legs, I have, scars on my stomach. That's all part of my physicality, which becomes my personality through conditioning, through programming, through affirming to myself that this is who I am. So if you're constantly affirming to yourself, I'm deeply loved and I'm amazing and I can do anything I want, that becomes a part of your personality, and your personality becomes your physical reality. Okay, so it's all tied together. And as far as it goes to accepting your body, any kind of acceptance has to begin with understanding that my body is the way it is. I'll tell you my own personal experience with my body. I hated my body. Okay, I was always losing weight, putting on weight, losing weight, putting on weight, and I had this really abusive relationship with my body. I would torture it, I would binge eat, I would starve, I would over-exercise, I would do everything. And when I was going through my suicide and depression period, I would even hurt my body, like cut myself and, slap myself and just really do violent things to myself. And I realized that if I was going to change the relationship with my body, I had to first change my relationship with myself. If I started seeing myself as this loving being, then that would extend out to outside of me. That would reflect on my external physical appearance too, right? And I started doing that, and over the course of years, it heavily changed the way I view my body. And when I was in total acceptance of my body, as in with its flaws, with its scars that I had, with its weight gain, with its weight loss, with its saggy skin, with its stretch marks, because I got so big that I got stretch marks. So like I have stretch marks here, and I have stretch marks on my stomach and my legs, okay? And excuse me, that's a part of my body. Like I can sit here and I can condemn it and hate myself for having my stretch marks. Oh, because who has stretch marks underneath their arm? Like who does? I do. And I hated that about myself. But I realized the more I hated my stretch marks, the more I saw them. Because what you focus on is what you see. Where your energy goes is what you bring to life. So if you're constantly focused on something that you don't like about yourself or about your body, how can you create change if you're always focused on what's wrong? When you always focus on what's wrong, you'll always get what's wrong. And so I had to change the way I started viewing myself. And that first started on an internal level. When I started viewing myself as this deeply loved child of God, I started viewing myself as someone who was capable, someone who was deserving, someone who was just beautiful the way they were. Then I started seeing that when I looked at myself in the mirror. And one of the affirmations that I did at the very beginning was I took a Post-it and I said, I love you on it, and I put it in my bathroom mirror. Every morning when I would go in to brush my teeth, I'd look at that Post-it as I was brushing my teeth, and I would just, in my head, just say, I love you, Kajal, I love you, Kajal, I love you, Kajal, like over and over again on repeat. And that's how I started to begin my days. And I did this for a very, very long time, especially when I had crazy adult acne. I don't know if some of you watched the video where I had crazy adult acne. Like my whole entire face was covered in acne. You could never tell that I had crazy adult acne. That's how I healed my acne. That's how I started accepting that I had acne, was by telling myself, I love myself regardless of what I see. I'm not going to wait till the mirror smiles for me to smile. I have to smile if I want to see the mirror smile. And that realization, I realized that if I don't accept where I am right now, the body I have right now, then I can't make an empowered choice to move forward, to help myself. Loving myself is all about helping myself, not hurting myself. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Refreshing my screen. Right. How do you grow comfortable with your written voice? Writing blogs, sharing your poetry, writing books. You ask yourself why you're doing it. Why do you want to express yourself in that form, in that medium, and by writing things down? You ask yourself what it is that you're trying to express, and figure out your why. Be totally solid in your why. Okay, maybe for me, I'll tell you why. I love writing. I'm a big writer, and writing is something that allows me to tap into my higher self. I feel like writing is when I let God in and God writes through me. So why I write is because it helps me to have this bigger, expansive experience of myself. And why I write is because, you know what? There's something purely very magical about taking something that's non-physical and making it physical just with the power of your hand. Like that just blows my mind. That's why I write. And then I write for myself. When we're writing for others, we feel like, oh, we're not good enough, or my writing style isn't that great, or I need to work on this. I purely write for the joy of writing for myself. That's it. When I write for the pure joy of just writing for myself, I don't have to give a shit's ass what someone else is saying or doing and cares about my writing. And when I realized that when I write just for the joy of writing for myself, my writing touches people. My writing actually helps people. My writing actually serves people. Only do something because it brings you joy. And in your joy, in your sharing of your joy, you will allow the other person to see or experience something within them that can also basically receive that joy. I hope that answers your question. Refresh my screen. How to deal with your inner critic, which is a hurdle in loving yourself. Your inner critic, which I like to call the ego, is the false conditioned self. It's the self that I've learned that I am. It's the self that will always have something to say about me, no matter how good I am, no matter how intelligent I am, no matter how well I do something. It will always be there. But at the end of the day, it's realizing if you listen to that voice, you give it power. You give it power over you. And what you give your power to has power over you. So your inner critic, let's say you want to start a new project and you want to create this amazing, beautiful program for, I don't know, for fifth grade students on the power of their thoughts. And you have this beautiful idea and this beautiful outline, and your inner critic comes in and says, you can't do that. Who are you to do that? You're nobody. Okay, you can listen to that and you can stop, or you can just be like, I hear you. Thanks for the advice. Thanks for the insight. But you know what? It's not making me feel good. And if I continue to listen to you, I'm just going to feel even more shittier about myself. So that's my cue that you aren't real, because if you were real, you would make me feel good. That's kind of how I play it out in my head. And something else I like to say is that inner critic always speaks to us in fears. And where there is fear, there is the way. The thing that your inner critic is so afraid of, it's kind of basically stopping you from doing by telling you you're unworthy of it, you're undeserving of it, you're unintelligent, you can't do it, is the thing that you have to do for your expansion, for your growth, for your soul to know its fullness. I hope that answers your question. I've answered your question. I've gone ahead and I've liked your comment. So that's how you know your answer was your question was answered. How do you strike a healthy balance between consistent self-love and loving others? Loving others is just an extension of how you love yourself. If loving others takes work, then you're coming from your headspace. Loving others should be this natural, easy, flowing process. Loving yourself is a very heart-based energy. It is not trying to analyze, hey, is this person worthy of love? It's just knowing that just because I'm a child of God, they're a child of God, and for that reason, they're worthy of love. That's it. And loving yourself is just like, I like how Oprah says this. When I'm so full of myself, my cup runneth over. When you're so full of yourself, that means you're so full of your own love. You can't help but share your love with others. You can't help but be that expression that loves other people. And I'm not really sure of your question, but if you're asking how to balance loving yourself and loving others, it's by understanding if loving somebody else is depleting you, then you're basically molding yourself into how this person wants you to love them. You're not being authentic in how you love them. You're loving them in the version you think they want you to love them. And that isn't an extension of you loving yourself. That is an extension of how they want you to love them. That makes sense. So if loving someone else is depleting you, then back away and ask yourself, am I just basically giving this love to this person so I can please them or they can feel happier or whatever? You have to be that witness and be that lighthouse that helps that person know that if there's something that's lacking in them, that's something that they're not giving to themselves, it's because they're not loving themselves. And that balance between loving yourself and loving another, it's just effortless, an easy balance. It's all about heart-based energy. When you step into your head energy, which is your ego, which is your mind, which is very analytical, which is all about observing everything and analyzing and judging, then you realize that I'm starting to love this person under conditions. That's where that comes from. I hope that answers your question. Ooh, okay. And I want to also add one more thing. By loving yourself, you will always create the best outcome for yourself and for others. You may not immediately see how it's going to create the best outcome, but it will. Because love never betrays, and love always heals. It's just like love is the only energy in the world that is real. And you will start having that intuitive knowing that love is the only energy in the world that is real when you start tapping into more of love that's already innately within you. We don't have to create self-love. We have to cultivate self-love because the seed has already been planted. The seed was planted from the day we were born into this world. We just have to tend to it, water to it. We have to take care of it. We have to nurture it. And then we have to watch it blossom. Okay, let's see if I have any more questions. How, I think I've already answered this, but how advice for loving oneself body more, grow comfortable in your physical scars. I feel like I've already answered this question. I'm just gonna reiterate a few things. Loving your body, when you start seeing your body as an extension of who you are, but not who you are, you realize that you are this physical, you are the spiritual being having a physical experience. You are this non-physical energy. And you know that your energy because energy has all types of forms. That's why you have a heartbeat. You know your energy because you actually have vibration, you have a rhythm, you have a frequency. You can put your hand right here and you can feel your heart. That's how you know your energy, because energy has frequency. And we're all the time giving out a certain frequency, a certain vibration. And so when you first look at yourself and you start knowing yourself as frequency, as energy, as this love-based energy, because that's what you are, love energy, then you can start seeing your body as an extension of this energy, as a solidified matter of this energy, which makes up your human structure, which you call your body, your home, your soul's home. Your soul is actually not in the body's in the soul. So if you can imagine, your soul extends like 50 feet in either direction. It's all around you. That's what your aura is. That's what your electromagnetic field is. So when you start understanding that you are first and foremost energy and your body's just an extension of that energy, you'll start to realize that that energy that I am is love, and I have tapped into it, and I work on knowing myself as this energy of love by doing the internal work, by showing up for my spiritual practice, the things I need to do. Then you'll start looking at your body the same way this energy that you are looks at the world. And all of spiritual growth, all of spiritual work is all about uncovering the veil of who you think you are to who you really are. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Also, another thing, sometimes it helps know that I am who I am. And it's not like, you go to the mall and you buy a pair of jeans and they don't fit right. You can go back and trade it in. You can't do that with your body, actually. You have the body you have, and you have the body you have for a reason. And the things that happen to you for a reason. They happen because they allow you to expand into this greater knowing of who you are. So first is embrace who you are, embrace what you have, and then realize that acceptance is the first step to self-love. By condemning your body, you're never gonna feel good about yourself. It's just illogical. It's like, we know these things don't make us feel good, but we just do it because it's so programmed in us to do this. It's so programmed to suffer. It's so programmed to sabotage ourselves. And the way we sabotage ourselves most is by being unconscious of how we're feeling and not taking responsibility that I'm always in charge of how I feel. So embrace, accept, and then remind yourself that acceptance is the key to loving yourself. Okay, let's see if I have any more questions. I'm going to start wrapping it up here. Let's see. Cool. Scrolling down. Okay, how do we deal with seemingly insurmountable societal constructed expectations that are required for you to endure to create your dream career. Okay. Whose expectations are they? Are they yours? Why would you choose to live out someone else's expectation of you? How is that at all serving you? Okay, I'll share a story with you. As being Southeast Asian descent, Indian, from India, my parents' expectation of me was to become a doctor. To this day, it is still their expectation of me. They just hope that I'll just stop doing this and I'll go back to med school, which is not happening. Their expectation of me was to be this doctor, was to be this high-profile doctor and, you know, have a roots planted and be this well-accustomed, normal member of society. But I did exactly the opposite. I actually was a pre-med bio major, and then I decided to just radically shift that because it didn't fulfill me. Okay? It didn't fulfill me, and I didn't want to be like everyone else. To be honest, I didn't want to die a copy. I wanted to be original, and I knew that at a very, very young age. And I knew if I lived other people's expectations of me, then I could never know what I really wanted for myself and how I really wanted to live my life. All right? So if the expectation is that you have to do this, go through this to create your dream career, as this person is asked, then that's the steps you have to go through because you believe that those are the steps you have to endure to go through them. You don't. I don't have a business degree, but I'm running a business. I don't have to wait till someone hands me this opportunity to create this opportunity for myself. I realize that other people's expectation of me just gets in the way of me living out what I really want to be doing, how I really want to be experiencing. And if you're enduring something, you think that life is a struggle, life is hard, it's supposed to be hard for you. There's no such thing as enduring. The ego is what loves to endure. The ego will tell you that there's a process, there's a way, there's a step-by-step guideline to get to where you want to go. But no, all you have to do is follow your excitement. Do the thing every single day that is the utmost highest excitement for you. So if that means sitting down and writing 20 pages for a short story that came to you, do that. If that means cycling, go do that. But do what is the utmost highest excitement for you. And when you continue to follow your excitement, that excitement will automatically lead you to your dream career, will basically become the foundation to which your dream career is built on. When I set out to become a life coach, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I knew in my heart is that I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people live better quality lives because everyone around me was suffering and I was suffering. And I wanted to transcend their suffering, to help them realize they didn't have to suffer. Suffering was optional. And all I did was I followed my excitement. So if my excitement that day told me to go research a program I could take, I did that. If my excitement meant to go spend an hour, reading my book by the lake, I did that. If my excitement meant that I needed to enroll in higher education, I would have done that. I didn't go down that route because I never felt called to do that. But do whatever feels right for you and stop living in the expectation of another, because when you live in the expectation of another, you're living in the reality of another person and not in your personal reality. And you're always in charge of your personal reality. And if you choose to fill your personal reality with someone else's expectation or personal reality of you, it's going to be like this friction, constant friction. So I suggest you just listen to your heart. Ask yourself, what does my heart want? What is my heart wanting me to do? And what can I give myself to live out my personal reality? I hope that helps you. All right, let's see if I have any more questions. I'm going to wrap it up. Love you too. Okay, so it looks like I don't have any more questions. If you have any questions, if you're just getting on, go ahead and put them in now. And I will try to answer as many more as I can. But I really, my genuine hope is that you did get something out of this, and that whatever message you needed to hear today, whatever you needed to basically experience was given to you, and that you will sign up for the 4-week group coaching program, Self-Love Simplified, as a way for you to commit to radically changing your story so you can live out a more empowered, authentic story that's filled with love, that's filled with light, but most of all, that's filled with exactly who you know yourself to be. So the link to that is right below this video, this big box. Click on that, I'll take you right there. And if you have any questions between now and Tuesday is when the enrollment date ends at midnight, Tuesday, May 3rd. Email me at kajal@kajalpande.com. I will answer all your questions. And just keep a lookout on my social media sites to kind of just talk more about this group coaching program. And I'll be answering more of your questions about this program on Facebook. My Facebook is facebook.com/the I really hope that this video today served you. Let me see if there are any more questions. I'm going to answer one more. How do you get yourself to stay productive amongst distractions of the ego, of the self, and life's responsibility? Great question. I say the ego will always distract you. Always, always, always. The ego always speaks first. And it is very loud. Its voice is very loud. It's very in your face. It tells you that it's coming, it's here, it's basically going to pin you down until you hear it. Like, I like to imagine my ego in holding a microphone, running around in my head, like telling me all these things. And I'm just like, I could switch the dial down, or I could turn the dial up. But how you stay productive amongst distractions is consistency. Consistency. Get consistent with yourself. Okay, so every single morning, tell yourself that the first 30 minutes upon waking up, I'm going to give to myself. That's going to be the time where I'm just going to completely give to myself. And what happens when you meditate, I didn't mention this, is that you actually raise your vibration. You raise your vibration. And when you live at a higher vibration, what happens is that your life starts to change. Your physical reality starts to change to reflect that vibration. Side note there. But get consistent. So create like a little mini practice. Something I like to do in the mornings is I like to get up and I like to first just, open my eyes, look around my room, and I like to just look at something to appreciate. So I just say, oh, I appreciate the sun shining through my windows right now, or I appreciate the warmth of this blanket that's wrapped my body right now. And then I get up, and when I land my feet on the ground, I say thank you. So right foot, thank, left foot, you. I say that 3 times. And then I get up and I go have my lemon water, and then I come back into the room that I'm sitting in, which is a meditation room, right exactly on my cushion where I'm sitting right now. I'll grab my journal with cats all over it. I'll have my lemon water, I'll light a candle, and I'll just kind of just riff some things that are on my mind. And then what I like to do is I like to take my affirmations that I've written for myself, and I like to write my 10 affirmations over and over again, like 10 of them. And as I write them, I say them to myself. So what I'm doing is I'm creating consistency. I am using affirmations to basically help myself understand what my vision is, what my goals are, where I want my energy to be placed today. So one of my affirmations is that I live a happy, beautiful, exciting life. Okay? And that's one of my affirmations. So I have written that down, and I have kind of reminded myself of it first thing in the morning. And then throughout the day, whatever I do is just a reflection of that vision. And if a distraction comes up, like, for example, my ego gets in the way, I just repeat that affirmation to myself. And it's like, oh yeah, remember you made a commitment to this affirmation, to this decision that I live an exciting and happy life. Now go be productive. Now go do the things you need to do so that vision can become a reality. Go be a vibrational match to that reality so you can experience that reality now. So that's what I do. And something else of distractions of life's responsibilities. That when you realize that Your external circumstances do not have to dictate how the way you feel. In fact, the way you feel is solely dependent on you. You will no longer look at your life circumstances as a distraction. Let's say there was a time in my life where I was broke. I didn't make any money. If I kept my focus there, that I can't make money, that this is not going to work out, I would still have been there. I chose to be the greater vision for myself. So I have this greater vision that I'm location independent, I get to do what I love, I'm changing people's lives and adding value to the world. And when I live from that vision, those distractions of, oh, but you're broke and no one's really watching your videos, that when I focus on that, I basically disempower myself from the decision I have made to the vision of myself. So I like to say, can you be greater than your circumstances? Yes. And you do that by consistently showing up for your practice, whatever your practice entails. Maybe it's dancing around in your room for 5 minutes or reading your affirmations in front of the mirror, but consistently showing up for your practice that helps to reprogram your mind that this is where we're headed, okay? And it's going to help you stay productive and on task. I hope that makes sense. So if I've answered all your questions, you got a like button from me, and I'm so thankful for all of you who have asked such beautiful questions. And I'm so thankful for all of you who have taken the time out of your day to come share your night, your Tuesday evening with me. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions for me regarding the group coaching program that I'm launching, Self-Love Simplified, email it to me over at kajal@kajalpande.com. I hope something valuable was received through this transmission, and I hope you have a beautiful, blessed week, and stay connected. I'll keep in touch. Have a beautiful day. Bye.